So, moving on now to the first demo. This is a recording of a particular create and run a test case, which I'm going to open up here. Okay. So, I'm going to move on to the environment which the test is running on here. So I need to open up first Microsoft Test Manager. So I'm going to go to Start, All Programs, Microsoft Visual Studio 2010, and Microsoft Test Manager. So Microsoft Test Manager is the client in which we'll be connecting to the TFS in order to see the project work items that we have stored there. I'm going to go back to the beginning so that we can see when you first log on what the user is presented to. So here we can see the Add Team Foundation server, which is where all the work items are going to be stored. It's a particular URL, but I'm not going to be doing that now, as I've already connected to a particular TFS. You can see TFS server, the default collection, Tailspin Toys is the project that I'm going to be working on. I'm going to select iteration 2, as this is where the test that will be running is stored. So this is the testing center here. Across the top there you can see that there's the 3 tabs, the plan, test and track. On the left-hand side, there's the Iteration 2 Test Suite, and underneath there we can see the requirements that have been added by the tester. The end-to-end test is where the particular test that I want to run is stored, which is check receipt number is present. So I'm going to open that up, and we're going to take a look at the information stored within this test. So across the top there you can see that there's the title, check receipt number is present. This is the name of this, becomes the name of the test case, and then underneath there we can see the status of the test, who it's assigned to, the state of the test, whether it's ready or closed or in design, so we know whether it needs to be run or not. We can assign the priority to a test from high to low, and then there's the automation status, whether we plan to automate it or not. And then there's the classification area that's already been filled in. Moving down to the central section is the test steps. On the left-hand side there's the action, which is what we would expect the tester to do in the application under test. And on the right-hand side there's the expected result, so the direct consequence of that particular action being run. Moving down to step 6 there, we can see that some of the words there have got the @ symbols next to them. This parameterizes them, which means that we can assign value to these particular parameters when they're running. If you look to the bottom of the screen there, you can see the parameter values table, and each of the corresponding columns is first, last, email, which is what the @ symbols indicate at the top of that test, step 6. We've got 2 iterations there within the parameter values table, and we'll see why we have the 2 iterations a little bit later. Moving down here, we go to step 9. We can see that there's an expected result. That receipt number must appear at the top of the confirmation page. There's a checkbox next to that, so that we know that there's a particular criteria that we need to satisfy. So moving on to the next tab is the test, which is where we would execute the particular test. And we can see that the layout is very similar to the previous tab. There's the test suite with the requirements on the left-hand side, and clicking on the requirements we can open up the tests that are stored within that particular requirement. So this is the test that we saw in the previous tab, so I'm going to go ahead and run this particular test. Clicking on Run opens up Test Runner, which is kind of the way in which we can see the test steps on one side and see the application on the test on the other side, so we don't have to constantly flick between windows. This start test overwrite existing action recording. I've run this previously, so I'm going to overwrite the particular recording that's already there to demonstrate that the recording feature. and then I'm going to press start so that we can begin to run the test. Once the initialization has occurred, we're ready to run the test. So we just run through our typical manual test like you would normally expect. Open that particular website. So I'm going to go and open Internet Explorer and paste the particular value within the address space there. So that website is opened up, and that means that we can pass that test. That's a simple case of pressing Control, Window and Q, so that we don't have to particularly jump from one window to another. We can just use that hotkey and it speeds up the process in general. So moving on to the next step there was click Model Airplane, which has passed. And the next step is to click on the Northwind Trader plane.